Hey y'all, today I'm doing a quick tutorial video on how to use Lightroom mobile presets and make the purchase presets you buy fit your photo. So let's go into the Lightroom mobile app and pick a picture to edit. I've already imported some that are not edited and we're going to edit this one. So here's the thing about presets that we buy. When we buy a preset, in our minds we think, hey, this is going to work perfectly every single time, and our photos are going to look exactly like the ones that enticed us to buy them in the first place. But probably about 95% of the time, that's just not the case. Because we all use different cameras, lenses, phones, lighting, all kinds of different scenarios, every preset is not going to work 100% of the time. At least not without some adjustments. So today we're going to show you how to make some adjustments to better make your presets fit every one of your photos. Making a set of presets fit all of your photos helps keep your photos consistent, especially if you have an Instagram account and you want it all to flow together beautifully. So let's go over to the presets tab and pick a preset that's going to look best on this photo. Now for Weller's stuff, I've created 5 presets for all of his Instagram stuff, and I use them every single time we post. It keeps his account looking a lot more consistent. So let's see which one I want to use today. Personally, it's between these two, but I think I'm going to go with the moodier one. Hit the check at the top and you're all set to start. Now here's the thing, I say start because you should look at your preset as a base and work from there. We can make a few minor adjustments that are super quick to make and make this preset look great and still have the same kind of color scheme as the rest of his photos. But the first thing that we want to do is go into the light tab. Here you can change your exposure, but I think his looked fine to begin with. But I am going to pull down the contrast because the preset made the photo extremely contrasty and dark on his face. And then I'm going to go down to the blacks and pull them back up and give some light into those. And then I'm going to pull the whites down because the whites are kind of bright in this photo. And definitely play with all of these things, but for this photo, this is how I would edit it. But you can play with all of these tools. If your image is too shadowy, pull the shadows up. If the shadows are not dark enough, pull them down and give yourself a more darker or moody look. It's super easy. And then we're going to go into the colors tab right here. So I do not usually mess with the tint of a photo or the tint, but definitely give that a whirl if that's something that you want to try, because it definitely does affect the entire look of your photo. But like I said, I do not usually change that. But the main tool that I encourage everyone to learn and try is the color mixer tool, which is this one right here that has the color wheel beside it. It says mix and it has a color wheel. So this tool allows you to edit your photo per color. So if you only want to change one color in your photo, you go into this tab and edit it singularly. Right now, I'm looking at Weller's coat and it looks entirely too orange. So I go into the orange tab and I want to pull down the saturation even more and then bring it back up until it looks more closely to his actual color. And then I can make it more red or orange or yellow or even green just by playing with the hues tab. But I'm gonna leave it right about here because that's kind of the actual tint of his coat. And then with the luminance tab, you can make a color darker or brighter. I'm gonna leave his right about here. I'm gonna go into the red color tab so I can add more red to his tongue because it's looking a little desaturated and dead. So I'm going to pull the saturation up on his tongue and I'm going to brighten it a little bit too, just to make it pop in this photo, because this photo is about showing off how dirty his mouth is. And so his coat and his tongue look good now. But we're going to go in and change the greens of all of the vines behind him. So when I change my greens on photos, I do it with both the yellow and the green tab. We're in the yellow tab right now, and look how big of a difference it makes on the greens. Personally, I tend to desaturate my greens a lot because it gives a more vintage, filmy look in my opinion. But everyone's different, so I definitely encourage you to see what works for you. I think I like it about right here for this photo. And then, like I said, you can change the hue. You can make it more blue and cool, or you can make it warmer. I'll leave it right about here for this one. And then I'm going to add some luminance just to make the leaves right behind his head pop. And so color-wise, I really think this looks great. You can affect each color of your photo by just using this tool. So I extremely suggest that everyone play with this because it's a lot of fun, and also is the biggest help in making a preset fit your photo. So this looks great. We've went from this to this so far, and I mean, honestly, this could be posted. I would probably go into a different app and edit out all of the dust around his face, but I don't have to do that. I'm going to show you a few more things though, just to make your photo even more awesome. So you can come over here to this effects tool and play with the clarity. The clarity gives a lot more dimension to your photo. I try not to overdo it though. I don't like to go over 20, but to each their own, of course. And then I come down and I'll play with the vignette. And I'm going to leave it right about there. But that just gives you more of a spotlight effect. You can come over here to the sharpening tool also and, you know, unsharpen or sharpen more. I will say that there is such a thing as over sharpen, so definitely try not to overdo it. But I'm going to leave that right about there. So that's a couple of other things you can do. But now I want to show you 3 more things that are going to make your photo pop. So zoom in really close to your subject's eyes. We're going to do one at a time. So zoom in as close as you can. and go over to your very first tool, the circle that's called Selective Edits. Hit the plus sign and then hit the brush with the circle around it, and then tap the center of your subject's eyeball. And then we're going to go into the light panel down there at the bottom, and we're going to play with the exposure. And then we're going to play with the highlights, pull them up, and the whites, pull them up too. And then hit the check at the top. See how his eye went from being very dark to now it has a catch light and more detail. Now swipe over to the next one and hit the select, the plus sign and the brush, and tap his eye one more time. Then we're going to go to exposure and highlights and whites. Tap the check mark. And notice how the eyes now have more life in them. I'm going to do this eye one more time, just because I don't think it was as bright. You want them to kind of match. That's not always the case, but for this photo I do. And that looks great. So that's how you quickly add lights to your subject's eyes in Lightroom Mobile. Then we're going to make this even greater with the selective tool. Hit the plus and the brush again. And what we're doing is making our own vignette. And this way allows you to make it the way you want it. Then you go into the light panel to the exposure tab and just bring it down as much as you want. I'm going to leave that there. I think it looks great. See, now the light is more spotlight on him. And then we're going to go back into the selector tool one more time. And we're going to do a little trace right around the subject. And go back into the light panel and again play with the exposures. And I'm going to bring them up. And that made him stand out even more. So we went from this to this. Just on Lightroom mobile app. Thank you so much for watching our tutorial video, and I really hope it helps explain presets a little more. But if you ever have any problems using presets or Lightroom mobile app, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm always there to help. Thank y'all.